You don't know what you don't know, and now I'm to the point of what do I do with what I do know? How do I continue to be effective? And I have realized for me, and maybe it's just my gifts, my skills, my talents, my successes in the past, my failures in the past, I'm best if I'm dealing with policy, not with politics. If I'm dealing with people and not the power side of it, I'll let other people deal with that.
Hello and welcome to the ALEC 52nd Annual Meeting in Indianapolis, Indiana. With me right now is Montana State Rep Kerri Seekins-Crowe.
It's so good to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
All three names. Got them the first time out of the bat.
First time.
Also, you're out there in Montana. Where in Montana? For those of us who have never been to Montana yet. But where in Montana are you? I
live in Billings, which is, we think of it as eastern Montana, but those really truly in eastern Montana say we're central Montana, but we don't want to recognize that we're central Montana. So it's kind of, a local thing, but we are the largest county, Yellowstone County, 180,000 people. The state is just a little over 1 million people, so therefore in my district I only represent 10,800 people, but those are the most important 10,800 people in the state.
Got to believe it. Now it's interesting, you say Yellowstone County, we think Montana, we think Yellowstone, we go straight to the Duttons and...
Absolutely.
Because I think it's fair, because back in my earlier days with earlier organizations, I was spending a lot of time out in Albuquerque. So I was getting a lot of Breaking Bad questions with that. So with it overall, are you seeing things, or has there been an impact from the show Yellowstone?
Well, of course. I mean, tourism, visitation there, but also with the combination of the show and COVID, I think people said, let's get out of these blue states, where do we go? So we got a lot of refugees that thought, oh, Yellowstone. And they weren't afraid of the winters at that time, nor the train stations. So they came, and we love our visitors. We love the refugees because they did want to come to a free state, a state that has opportunity and is a red state.
Wow, interesting overall. And I love the mention of the train station. I thank you for that. So overall, as a state rep, how long have you been in office?
I just spent my third session in office. We do get termed out after 4, so I will be termed out after my next one. And then I'll have to just go back to being a gardener and a grandma.
Is that what we were before we ran for office, a gardener or a grandma?
I'm a realtor and I also taught college.
Oh, okay. What'd you teach at college?
Business and math. Cannot forget math. I love teaching math. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd at heart.
So then, was it like the lack of business type sense, or the lack of trying to use math that sort of like drove you into the whole thing? Because you hear it all the time from people that are in office, that are writing these bills. It's like, I don't know where these people are in business. They definitely don't know what math is, and blah, blah, blah.
I know how to math, but it might be more the lack of common sense that led me to politics. I believe I've always been interested since college. I mean, the first president, and this will age me, that I've ever voted for was Ronald Reagan. But funny story, I voted for Ronald Reagan at Augustana College in 1984 because the person in front of me voted for Ronald Reagan. I had no idea about politics, Republican or Democrat. But I finally transferred up to University of Alaska Fairbanks, where my uncle was in politics up there, and he set me straight. He set me straight in the direction I should be going, and I've been there ever since as a solid Republican who really wants to understand more about our state, about our economy, about energy, about education, about policy, local government, and I've learned a lot, but I've got a lot more to learn.
California to Fairbanks, Alaska.
It was actually South Dakota.
Oh, okay, well then it's even more. South Dakota to Fairbanks, Alaska, to Billings, Montana.
Oh no, there's more in there. But it was so cold my first year at college in South Dakota, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I went to Fairbanks, Alaska.
I've got to tell this story now. So my father was actually born in Canada. And then they also had a place in North Dakota. Grandpa came over on the boat from Norway and said, "Don't shop there."
Swedish.
Yeah. So we'll worry about that rivalry later. But I used to ask, I said, why did you have a place in Canada and North Dakota? And he said that, well, the farmland was great up there in Canada.
Yeah.
But the winters were pretty harsh, so we needed someplace warm to go during the winter. And I'm like, you went to North Dakota to keep warm. It's a theory. So it's like you have a similar family blood there that's doing the same thing.
It's actually much more expansive than that. So very, very quickly, it's Montana, Virginia, Montana, Idaho, Colorado, South Dakota, which was high school, Alaska for college, Washington, D.C., where I met my husband. He was in the Marine Corps there, worked for Senator Ted Stevens from Alaska. And then it was North Carolina down there in the Marine Corps, had both my kids there. Then Georgia, because my husband was actually injured in Somalia. And 23 years ago, on the 4th of July, we moved back to Montana where my family is. And that's where we've been ever since and have no intention of leaving. That's home.
Well, home and now you are serving. Okay,
Yes.
So this session in the great state of Montana, what were we working on?
I worked on, and I think the most important things that I did this session, I kind of call it my life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Montana way of life, and that was protecting women. Montana's women's private spaces and also women's sports.
Okay.
Those were the important things. I carried those pieces of legislation, and then they did get passed, and then the governor signed them. Next thing was liberty. And this is about providing a place and a space for those folks who are coming out of our prison system, our jail systems, who are justice involved. So that I set up a Office of Reentry within the Department of Labor, and included all of the different departments of the government, so that private spaces also had a place to land and go, and then also any grants had a place to land, and we weren't so disjointed in our very large state with very few people. And then the Montana way of life, pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
That one is a really fun one too. I set up a commission that's going to take some of the Pittman-Robertson funds. Those are all those taxes that you pay on any bullet or gun or anything, so that some of that money goes into the bucket where we go and give money to the ranges in the state. So if we wanted to build a big range or uphold, we've got 143 gun archery ranges in the state. So that's my life.
That's a lot of maintenance that needs to.
Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That was my big session. I did work on a lot of different legislation too, but those were kind of the three big ones got passed through. And of course, my women's privacy that has been sued. We knew it would be.
Yeah.
And I'm an intervener on that case, and we know it's going to go to our Supreme Court, which is very liberal, and we're hoping it goes to the Supreme Court, so throughout the country. And this was one of the questions I was asked frequently: why is it important that if Montana's already doing this within our college, that we make a statement that we want to protect women's sports? It's because our women also participate against women from Maine, from California, and our children and our women across the country need to have a place where they know that they're safe within women's sports and also women's private spaces.
Fantastic. It's a lot of work there, but it's a lot to take on, especially, gosh, you only have 3-4 terms that you're able to do that.
Yes.
Well, I would guess that the majority, and I'm not asking you, but I would guess the majority of folks that are state reps end up running to be state senators because they're also term limited out.
Yes, well, and there's only half as many Senate seats.
Yeah.
But there is a good chance that I could be running for Senate in 4 years.
Has to show a real commitment.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to fight extra hard there to make it.
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
oh, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
One is just opened up. One of our representatives who was going to be running for that seat just got chosen to be confirmed as a federal judge.
Oh, okay.
And now, of course, I'm a very selfish person, so I'm sad that he won't be serving with me. But I'm thrilled because our judges in our state have been very dangerous, very damaging, because they're activists and they have taken on. I'm obsolete. People don't even run against me, really, because they know that any piece of legislation that I pass, they can just take it to our court systems, and our activist judges will legislate from the bench.
That's got to be
guaranteed.
Frustrating as heck. I mean, you hear about these things, you hear about some of this, but you never really see it in practice, or at least we don't. From where I am, and right in the outskirts of Washington, D.C., about how there are the states like yours, apparently, where folks are sort of like road roughshod over when it comes to more of these activist judge things.
Absolutely. Election integrity, any education choice. We set up a charter school, of course, that gets sued, and they know. I don't think that we've had maybe a couple wins lately in the past few years. I mean, our Attorney General's amazing. I just love him because I always say, in the legislature, people come up to me and say, if you pass that bill, we're going to sue. And I say, hold my beer. Well, the greatest thing is our Attorney General has had to defend every single one of these lawsuits, and he goes, hold my whiskey. And it's been rough because our Supreme Court almost unanimously every single time rules with the folks who sue and not with those of us who are actually making the laws and doing what we've been elected to do. It's been a very interesting term, and that's because our judges are elected statewide, not by region. And the Montana trial attorneys and the big PACs come in and they fund these activist judges at a local level and then at the state level as well. A very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's interesting. The different places that I've lived, there's the appointed, there's the elected, and then there's actually even how they're elected. So all of those things,
they matter.
A little bit of, very much so. And especially you would expect a state like Montana where it wouldn't be quite as big of an issue. When you have the right players in there, it becomes a heck of an issue.
It becomes a very big issue.
Yeah. So one of the things overall, we'll let you get back to the rest of the ALEC meeting, but it is like, what are you looking at? What are you seeing? What are you experiencing here at the ALEC meeting? What are you taking in?
I am so honored to be here. And the biggest reason for me is because what I have watched, and I mean, my first session, let's be honest, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, I walked in, it was COVID, and there was only two things that I knew for sure. One was I didn't know what I was doing, and the second was I was not going to wear a face mask. Right? You don't know what you don't know, and now I'm to the point of what do I do with what I do know? How do I continue to be effective? And I have realized for me, and maybe it's just my gifts, my skills, my talents, my successes in the past, my failures in the past, I'm best if I'm dealing with policy, not with politics. If I'm dealing with people and not the power side of it, I'll let other people deal with that. So how do I use organizations such as yourselves who've been set up to exactly do that, to help me? And that's why I'm so glad to sit in and listen to election integrity and education and judiciary and participate and pick the brains of colleagues from across the country who have the same value system, the same problems, the same successes that I've had, and that's why I'm glad I'm here.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
Representative Crowe from the great state of Montana, thank you for sitting down with us.
It's an honor. Thank you very
here
much.
At the ALEC 52nd Annual Meeting in Indianapolis.